So welcome back to the channel if you're coming back, and welcome if it's your first time. So let's talk about something that can get interesting. Therapy. I mean, it's supposed to help you, right? But what happens when your therapist is, well, not exactly doing their job? Because among us, or for some of you, there are therapists. You might be seeing a therapist, but it's not going so well as how you expect it to be going, and probably you're feeling as if you're getting worse. And for some people, especially those who have been under narcissistic abuse for a long time, sometimes normal therapy does not work, and the therapist has to be very, very conscious about knowing how to deal with narcissistic abused kind of people. Otherwise, they will just mess you up. So let's dive into some of the not so great therapist moments that we've all heard of, or maybe even experienced. Because it's sort of like it's getting out of control. And for some of you, that therapist whom you are seeing is had probably been sent by your enemy, or for some of them, the enemy is trying to influence them with negative thoughts about you. They are doing smear campaign against you to the therapist, so that the therapist will be judgmental over you when they're doing the therapy. And in that way, the therapy sessions won't go well. Just be mindful. So buckle up, folks. This might get a little wild. First up, the classic, the therapist who doesn't listen. Yeah, that one. You know, the one who talks at you more than they talk to you? I mean, picture this. You're sitting in session, pouring your heart out, and instead of listening, they start rambling on about their own experiences. Excuse me, I'm paying you to listen to my problems, not tell me about yours. For example, I told my therapist I was feeling super stressed at work, and instead of asking me how I felt or diving deeper, she just gave me a long lecture on time management. Like, yeah, lady, I know how to manage time, but it's not my calendar that's the problem here. It's my anxiety. Listen, therapy is about you, not the therapist. A good one will listen, ask follow-up questions, and make sure you feel heard. Next, let's talk about judgment. If you've ever had a therapist who made you feel like you were being put under a microscope, or worse, like you had to apologize for who you are, yikes. I mentioned to my therapist that I was struggling with my identity, and instead of making me feel supported, she gave me this look, that I don't get it, but I will pretend I do. Look, not cool. It's not cool at all. I mean, therapists should create a safe space free of judgment. It's their job to meet you where you are, not push their personal opinions onto you. Everyone deserves to feel accepted and understood in therapy. And I guess I'm just going to let go of mine. And it's frustrating. And then we have the therapist who loves cliches, the one who says things like everything happens for a reason, or time heals all wounds. Yeah, we all know that. Like, for example, you might tell your therapist that you were struggling with a breakup, and she hits you with the classic, well, everything happens for a reason. Girl, what does that even mean? I'm in pain. I don't need a fortune cookie. Listen, I get it. Therapists are trying to help, but sometimes the best thing they can do is just sit with you in your pain, rather than trying to explain it away with some overused line. Oh boy, let's talk about the therapist who doesn't know where the line is. This one's a doozy. Really, this one's a doozy one. So, for example, you might have a therapist who tell you all about their personal life, their drama, their family issues, everything. You're sitting there like, am I here to help you, or are you here to help me? They can shock you. There is nothing wrong with a little personality, but when a therapist starts making it about them, that's a red flag. Therapy should be a space for you to talk about your stuff, boundaries, people. And speaking of making it about them, here's the one where the therapist basically turns your session into a self-promo event. I mean, for example, every session, your therapist would tell you about how amazing their book was and how their new technique was going to revolutionize your life. Like, okay, I didn't come here to hear about your book deal. I came here for help. Okay, sometimes that is necessary. Sometimes that can be done. But for some of them, they just go beyond boundaries. A good therapist should make sure the spotlight stays on you, not their personal accomplishments. It's your therapy time, not theirs. But of course, whatever they are giving you, if it's going to really help you, fine, take it. Now this one's just a nightmare. The next one. The therapist who actually makes you feel worse about yourself. For example, after every session, I'd feel exhausted and drained. It was like my therapist was pointing out all my flaws without offering any real support or solutions. I left feeling worse than when I came in, and most of the time, I always have to find the solutions myself, and she would just be like, she's agreeing to whatever I'm saying, and she's telling me, see, you already are solving it. A great therapist should help you feel lighter, not heavier. You should leave a session feeling like you've made progress, not like you've just been dragged through the mud again. And I don't know, with mine, every time I left that place and I come home, the next day I'm ill. Just downright ill. And I have to recover. It takes me about a week. And I see them after every 2 weeks, probably. Alright, here's a classic move from some therapists. The unsolicited advice. You've probably met one of these, right? They immediately tell you what to do without even fully understanding your situation. Like, for example, you might have told your therapist about a tough relationship that you had been in, and before you could even finish, they are like, well, you should just break up with them. For example, if you're talking about a difficult relationship that you're having. Okay, that's not what you're asking. You're just trying to figure things out there. Therapy is about helping you discover your own solutions. A good therapist helps you explore your feelings, but doesn't just tell you what to do like they're your life coach. There's a big difference. And that's what I just learned, because That's what I learned. They're just, because there was one session and she was telling me, you know, I allow you to speak, but normally I should be speaking more than you. I just looked at her, nodded my head, and I just walked out. There's a big difference. Finally, let's talk about the therapist who just doesn't have a method at all. Every session feels like you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. I mean, for example, every week it might feel like you were trying something different. One session was all about deep breathing, the next was about talking it out. And you get to have no clue what was happening. I mean, you just wanted some consistency. Therapy should be structured in a way that helps you feel like you're making progress. If every session feels like a random guessing game, you might not be getting the best experience. So yeah, bad therapists are a real thing, and if you've experienced one of these, you are not alone. But don't give up on therapy just because of a bad experience. There are amazing supportive therapists out there who will help you grow and heal. And hey, if you've had any wild therapist stories, drop them in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. So I hope this helps someone, and if you find it beneficial, please share it with those whom you love. So until next time, take care of yourselves and stay awesome. And with much love, God bless.